Here are the most insane things Epstein did on his island. You probably heard about Epstein. This man was crazy. The baby ranch. Epstein wasn't just a creep. He was obsessed with becoming the father of a new race. He had a plan that sounds like it was stolen from a bad sci-fi movie villain. He wanted to turn his properties into a baby factory where he could impregnate 20 women at a time. He told scientists that he wanted to seed the human race with his own DNA because he truly believed he was genetically superior to everyone else. This is basically eugenics, which is the same twisted science the Nazis used. He spent millions funding university labs just to get close to geneticists who could help him live forever. He even looked into freezing his own head and body so he could be brought back to life in the future. He didn't want a family. He wanted a population. The scariest part is that he had the money, the scientists, and the isolation to actually try it. Spy cams. Epstein wired his entire island like a reality TV show house, but the cameras were hidden. We are talking about cameras in the bedrooms, cameras in the bathrooms, and microphones in the walls. He didn't just want to do bad things. He wanted to record them. This was his insurance policy. He invited powerful politicians, famous scientists, and even royalty to his island. Once they were comfortable, he would record them doing things they definitely didn't want the public to see. This is called compromat, which is a spy term for blackmail material. It explains why he was able to walk around free for so long, even though everyone knew he was sketchy. He was basically a spider sitting in a web made of hard drives. The mask room. If you thought the island couldn't get more like a horror movie, wait until you hear about the mask room. When investigators finally got into the main house, they found a room that made no sense. Inside, there was a dentist's chair in the center of the floor, but on the wall in front of the chair, there were rows of human masks hanging on display. Why would you need a wall of faces staring at you while you sit in a medical chair? It looks like the trophy room of a serial killer. Some people think it was art, but others think it was part of his psychological games. Imagine sitting in that chair, unable to move, with 12 fake faces staring back at you. It suggests that whatever happened in that room wasn't about medical care. It was about fear. Trapdoor to the sea. There are reports and blueprints that suggest the main house had a secret trapdoor, but it didn't just lead to a basement. It led directly to the ocean. This is classic supervillain architecture. Why would you need a secret exit that drops you into the water? It could be used to dispose of evidence quickly, or it could be used to bring people onto the island without them ever being seen at the dock or the helipad. It turns the house into a machine that can swallow people up and spit them out. It means that even if the police were knocking on the front door, he had a way to get things, or people, out the back door instantly. The fake temple. The most famous building on the island is a massive structure with blue and white stripes and a gold dome. It sat on the highest point of the island, like a weird trophy. But if you look closely, you realize the whole thing was a lie. The front door was painted on. It was a fake wooden door with a fake lock, just like a set on a Hollywood movie. Locals and workers said the building played strange mechanical sounds and music that sounded like a broken piano. So what was inside? It wasn't a church or a gym. It was likely a cover for a massive elevator shaft that went deep underground. The painted door was there to trick people into thinking it was just a normal building. The underground tunnels. Locals and workers reported seeing massive construction projects on the island for years. They weren't building up, they were digging down. Drone footage showed huge pipes and ventilation systems that were way too big for a normal house. The island is tiny, so you can walk across it in 10 minutes. You don't need a subway system. The tunnels were likely used to move guests from the docks to the house without being seen by satellites or staff. It allowed him to keep people hidden and isolated. It turns the island into an ant farm of secrets. He literally built a layer of hell underneath paradise. The massive safe. When the FBI finally raided his properties, they found a massive steel safe that looked like it belonged in a bank vault. Inside, they found piles of cash and loose diamonds worth millions of dollars. But the craziest part was a fake passport. It had Epstein's photo, but a totally different name. It even said he lived in Saudi Arabia. This proves he was ready to run away at any second. He had a bug-out plan that would make a spy movie character jealous. He knew that one day the law might come for him, so he kept a survival kit worth a fortune locked in a box. This isn't just a rich guy being fancy. This is a clear sign of someone who was always playing a game of cat and mouse with the police. He was prepared to ditch his entire life and vanish into thin air just to stay free. It shows he knew exactly how much trouble he was in long before he got caught. The painting. In his main mansion, right in a hallway where every guest had to walk past it, hung a very specific painting. It was a portrait of former President Bill Clinton, but he wasn't wearing a suit or a tie. He was posing in a chair inside the Oval Office wearing a bright blue dress and red high heels. This wasn't a joke gift or a prank. It was a serious piece of art that he displayed proudly for everyone to see. Why would anyone hang something like that? It was a pure psychological power move. It was his way of telling his famous guests that he owned them and their reputation. It was designed to make people feel uncomfortable the second they walked in the door. It shows that he didn't respect authority or even his own friends. He treated world leaders like they were just characters in his twisted game. He loved the idea that he could humiliate the most powerful people on Earth and get away with it. Statues. Epstein filled the island with weird statues that made the place feel more like a cult compound than a resort. One of the biggest ones was a massive statue of the Greek god Poseidon looking over the sea. But he also had statues of giant owls and gargoyles perched on the roofs of the buildings. This sets a very dark tone for a place that is supposed to be a paradise. It tells you that this island has its own rules and its own gods. Some people think the owl statues were a nod to secret societies or weird cult groups. Whether that is true or not, it totally kills the vacation vibe. Imagine walking through a garden at night and seeing stone monsters staring at you from the roof. He wanted the island to feel like his own private kingdom where he was the only one in charge. It felt less like a home and more like a temple built to his own ego. The staff rules. This isn't a physical object you can touch, but it was a huge part of the scary atmosphere on the island. Epstein hired dozens of people to keep the island running, but the rules for the workers were totally insane. The number one rule was that they had to be invisible. If Epstein or a guest walked into a room, the workers had to leave immediately or turn around and face the wall. They were never allowed to make eye contact with him or his famous friends. He treated these human beings like they were just pieces of furniture or ghosts. He paid them way more than a normal salary to buy their silence. He also made them sign strict legal contracts that said they would lose everything they owned if they ever talked. This created a bubble of silence where nobody could stop him. It was a system built to make sure that whatever happened on that island stayed a secret forever. If you liked the video, can you subscribe, please?